He had only posed a single question to Venerable Zhenyan in his mind. That was whether she had seen where the ashes went. At that time, Venerable Zhenyan merely answered him with 2 casual words.
No.
She lied. She had clearly seen where the ashes went, even at the cost of damaging her own domain, just to hold fast to this lie. Who was she protecting? A thunderous roar echoed in Venerable Zinni's mind. He spun around abruptly, his aged eyes locking fiercely onto Fang Chen.
Is it my disciple?
His very soul quaked violently. Amidst the shock, a sudden realization dawned. If it was Fang Chen, then far too many things suddenly made sense. Why had the Bodhisattva intervened at the critical moment? Because the cultivator of the void-flowing thunder force was standing right beside him. Old man Tianji's divination had said, far as the horizon, yet close at hand, and someone he knew. That was because this person was his nominal disciple at the time. After Wang Qingxiao was hooked away by a fishhook, Fang Chen arrived late. That was because Fang Chen was the one who had captured Wang Qingxiao. And also, he had delayed mobilizing the Great Yin sect to search for Wang Qingxiao. He had impersonated Wang Qingxiao in the heavenly realm. Countless fragments of the past now thundered together, connecting in a deafening chain. All unmistakably pointed to one person, Fang Chen. His former nominal disciple, now his true disciple. The cultivator of the void-flowing thunder force he had searched for across Taking and Daju, spending over half a year. It was Fang Chen.
He had.
Venerable Zinni laughed, his body shaking uncontrollably. It was a laugh of ultimate fury, a laugh that seethed to the marrow of his bones. So, my instinct on the ancient road to heaven from the very start was not wrong. He is the void-flowing thunder force cultivator I sought. His voice suddenly rose, as if pronouncing judgment on himself. No wonder he was so adamant about not becoming my disciple. The truth is, he was afraid that staying by my side would expose him, and I actually believed him. Not only did I take him as a nominal disciple, now I've even elevated him to true disciple, guided him in divine transformation, and plan to leave him all my life's ultimate scheme. LLS, I, Zinni, always prided myself on my supreme intelligence, breaking through to the path of divine transformation by my own power, becoming a venerable revered by all. To think, in the end, I have been toyed with, like a fool, by a junior. The last sentence was almost hissed through gritted teeth. Fang Chen, you deserve to die. You deserve 10,000 deaths. Watching Venerable Zinni, whose face was twisted with rage and murderous intent surging to the heavens, Chen Jing at the side curled the corner of his mouth slightly. He inwardly sneered, Fang Chen, Fang Chen, now you will die without a burial place. Don't blame me for being heartless, blame yourself for stealing my master. He cupped his hands, silently withdrew from the barrier, and flew away swiftly. Before leaving, he cast a half-smiling glance at Fang Chen. He could almost already imagine what a tragically miserable end Fang Chen would meet. Fang Chen keenly caught that subtle expression on Chen Jing's face. His heart skipped a beat, and his thoughts instantly began to spin. What had Chen Jing told Venerable Zinni? Since he deliberately kept it from me, it was most likely aimed at me. Could it be that Chen Jing knew I was the void-flowing thunder force cultivator and went to betray me? But how could he know? Just as his unease grew, the barrier before him slowly dispersed. Fang Chen immediately tensed up, staring intently at the gradually emerging figure of Venerable Zinni, scrutinizing the other's expression. If the situation turned sour, he would have to strike first. To his surprise, however, Venerable Zinni was unusually calm, his face showing neither joy nor sorrow, betraying not a trace of emotion. Fang Chen probed cautiously, Master, what are your plans next? Venerable Zinni spoke calmly, Didn't I just say, my lifespan is short, waiting to die will do. Fang Chen inwardly pondered, could it be that he was overthinking? Maybe Chen Jing's betrayal was not about the void-flowing thunder force. But Venerable Zinni suddenly looked at him, gave a faint smile, and said, You mentioned you want to guide the Asura clan from the heavenly realm, right? Let me help you a bit. Fang Chen hastily waved his hands. Master, you needn't trouble yourself. This should not be too difficult. Venerable Zinni stepped forward, patted his shoulder lightly, and smiled. You are my good disciple. Let me help you one last time. Fang Chen couldn't help but frown slightly. He had a vague feeling that Venerable Zinni's tone carried another hidden meaning. Thinking this, a sliver of wariness grew in his heart. He turned his eyes slightly and said, All right, Master. Let's go then. We'll first find the sky-connecting black pillar, then proceed to guide the Asura clan. Meanwhile, elsewhere. In the innermost Buddha hall of White Horse Temple, a monk sat cross-legged in the air. His whole body radiated a faint, pristine light, his appearance shifting between male and female, young and aged. He held in his hand a jade box that Venerable Zhenyan had handed over. Inside, a cluster of ash writhed incessantly, as if desperately trying to fly out, and the direction it strained toward was exactly where Fang Chen was. It turned out that earlier, taking advantage of the gap when Venerable Zinni and the others were distracted by the Buddha's voice, Venerable Zhenyan had secretly captured the ash. Otherwise, it would have already all fallen onto Fang Chen, and he would have been exposed on the spot. The Bodhisattva's voice was slow and magnetic, saying leisurely, "As a descendant of the great Venerable Xingyuan, with his protection, you originally had nothing to fear from the cataclysm." Venerable Zhenyan looked relieved and replied softly, "The great Venerable Xingyuan once said in the heavenly realm, death may be lighter than a goose feather or heavier than mounds. Ti, if my death can allow someone who can better resist the heavenly realm to survive, how can it be in vain?" Hearing this, the Bodhisattva pressed his palms together and said solemnly, "Benefactor Zhenyan, your merit is boundless." Venerable Zhenyan stood up and asked, "Does the Bodhisattva have further teachings?" "There is." The Bodhisattva opened his mouth and breathed out a strand of silent words. As those silent words entered her ears, Venerable Zhenyan's delicate body suddenly trembled, her almond eyes instantly widening. She stood frozen for a long time before nodding dazedly. "I understand. Thank you, Bodhisattva, for the reminder." With that, she turned and left absent-mindedly. Only then did the Bodhisattva look down at the jade box in his hand. He gently brushed his palm over it, and the ash within gradually quieted. But after a second thought, he stopped, a faint smile on his lips, and murmured to himself, "It is time to welcome the Buddha's son back to his station." On the other side, Fang Chen, having obtained the sky-connecting black pillar, carried it all the way to the northernmost part of White Horse Temple. He aligned it with Fei and Jinggang's golden alms bowl and placed the pillar steadily on a large rock. "Above our heads is the 10,000 fragrances stockade that your disciple mentioned. I had entrusted their Jixiang Jeju to go and persuade the other Asura stockades. Those willing to take refuge in the central plains, I will guide them down. Now, we just wait for Jixiang Jeju to descend." Venerable Zinni clasped his hands behind his back, watching Fang Chen, and said slowly, "You are quite considerate of taking Daju." Fang Chen nodded, his tone flat yet firm. "Taking Daju is home to my Tianji pavilion, to the Azure Cloud sect from which I emerged on the mainland, and to Lonely Boat City, the homeland where I grew up. If I don't protect them, who will?" Venerable Zinni said lightly, "I truly envy you, having so many people and places worthy of protection. Unlike me, all I have passed through is a past too painful to recall." Fang Chen replied, "You are too modest, master. For you to step into the Divine Transformation realm, you must have had many fortuitous encounters. Surely there are many wonderful times worthy of remembrance." Venerable Zinni let out a hoarse laugh. He sat on the rock, gazing at the boundless sky, and fell into reminiscence. "Your master was born into a great clan in Tianju. My father was a mighty cultivator at the late Nascent Soul stage. And I was the clan's most outstanding junior. Father showered me with boundless love, giving me the best of everything I could imagine. Whatever I set my eyes on, he would give me. Even if I took a fancy to a woman on the road, that very night she would appear in my bed. By all rights, under my father's tutelage, I would naturally succeed as the heir to the clan, until that day when my father held a sword to my throat." This sudden reversal left Fang Chen somewhat bewildered. If your father loved you so deeply, why would he try to kill you? Venerable Zinni's voice remained as calm as if recounting someone else's story, because the path he walked was the Tao of heartlessness. "What is heartlessness?" "To sever the one you are most reluctant to part with, that is true heartlessness. Therefore, from the moment I was born, I was nothing but a tool for him to step onto the path of divine transformation. To love me deeply, and then to kill me, that is how heartlessness is manifested." Fang Chen's heart chilled at this. Kill one's own child to enter the Tao. Could there truly be such a cold and heartless path in this world? The heart Karma Venerable continued, "Fortunately, my mother protected me and helped me escape, but my father did not give up. Failing to kill his son, he killed his wife, killed the clansmen, and annihilated the entire clan. In the end, he successfully stepped onto the path of heartlessness and entered the Ataperture Nascent Soul stage." For a moment, Fang Chen was at a loss for words. The heart, Karma Venerable's past, could only be described as unspeakably tragic. His own father had murdered all his closest kin, leaving him with nowhere to call home in the vast world. "What happened next?" Fang Chen asked. Given the heart, Karma Venerable's ruthless nature, surely he would seek revenge. The heart Karma Venerable slowly said, "Afterwards, I bore the blood, Deep vengeance of my entire clan and cultivate it desperately. Those who obstructed my cultivation, kill. Those who seized my resources, kill. All who hindered my cultivation had to die. Along the way, I witnessed too much human treachery and saw countless dark sides of humanity. In the end, through slaughter, I stepped onto the path of heart karma and proved my Tao, ascending to godhood. At this, the heart, Karma Venerable, turned to look at Fang Chen. Your master truly envies you. Every person you've met along the way has been good and kind. As a result, your heart is open and righteous, filled with noble integrity. Your master sees not a trace of darkness in you. A trace of sympathy stirred in Fang Chen's heart. He said softly, Master, all of that is in the past. Look forward now. The heart, Karma Venerable, laughed hoarsely again. Past. Can it ever truly pass? He slowly brought out 2 pitch-black bottles. One was empty, the other burned with white flames, and within the flames, a soul curled into a ball was howling in agony. Fang Chen's pupils contracted sharply. Could this be? The heart, Karma Venerable, stated calmly, It is my father's soul. After I transformed into a deity, the very first thing I did was take revenge. He had already entered the 9 Aperture Nascent Soul stage by then, but he had fallen into madness. Killing him would have been too merciful. So I extracted his soul, condemning him to eternal torment in the flames. Only then could my heart find peace. Only then could I briefly forget the memory of my own father pressing a sword to my throat and slaughtering my entire family. After speaking, he put away the black bottle that tormented his father, leaving only the empty one in his hand, examining it slowly. Fang Chen's heart pounded furiously. He discreetly stepped back. It seemed his instincts had been correct. The heart, Karma Venerable, had already become suspicious of him. Just as expected. The heart, Karma Venerable, slowly raised his gaze, his eyes growing sharper by the moment, and his expression gradually turned dark and grim. I swore an oath that I would never again give anyone a chance to betray me. Therefore, in this life, I have never trusted anyone, not even the disciple I raised from childhood. He paused, his voice suddenly rising, but I never expected that the one disciple I trusted, the only true named disciple, to whom I entrusted my final legacy, has been deceiving me all along. Gazing at the hysterical heart, Karma Venerable, Fang Chen spoke calmly, I never intended to deceive you. I became your disciple only out of necessity, receiving your guidance and taking your heaven, shattering pearl. None of this was something I deliberately sought. You need not feel betrayed. The killing intent in the heart, Karma Venerable's eyes intensified rather than diminished. Is there a difference? The result is still deception. Do you think that by saying this I won't kill you? Fang Chen shook his head and said indifferently, I never hoped you would let me go. Given our stances, it is fated that only one of us can survive. I merely wished that we would not have to cross swords. A pity that it has come to this. As he said this, the figure of Chenjing emerged in his mind. For the sake of Zhenyan and Nangong Zhuoyan, he had given Chenjing a chance, but Chenjing had mercilessly struck him from behind with a fatal blow. If he survived this, he would definitely obliterate Chenjing. It's good that you understand. The heart, Karma Venerable's eyes were like 2 icy caverns, exuding terrifying cold. Gripping the empty black bottle, he said harshly, Do you see this empty bottle? It is reserved for you. I will stuff your soul inside as well, and let you suffer torment for all eternity. I will warn myself again and again, never trust anyone again. Whoosh! His fierce roar still echoed in the air as he vanished from his spot, and in the next instant, he teleported right before Fang Chen. That withered hand shot out like an iron vice, seizing fiercely toward Fang Chen's neck. Fang Chen did not wait for death. From his sleeves surged countless raindrop-sized black droplets, each one extremely viscous and emitting demonic kai that shrouded spiritual sense. The heart Karma Venerable's expression shifted slightly. He decisively teleported backward. That's the dense demonic fluid of the Great Wilds province. You can actually track my movements. He was a venerable, whose short-range movements were tantamount to teleportation. How could Fang Chen, a mere nascent soul cultivator, manage to track him? Only when he detected that Fang Chen's body harbored a strand of wind, origin, essence, did he suddenly understand. You've comprehended the wind origin before reaching divinity transformation. Truly unexpected, but this won't save you. With a wave of his sleeve through the air, the terrifying pressure of a venerable surged forward like a tsunami, suffocating. The dense demonic liquid droplets suspended around Fang Chen were successively blasted away, and his own bones emitted a series of crackling explosions. It was clear he could not withstand this colossal pressure and was on the verge of collapse. But he held on. Not only did he hold on, but he also seized the moment to activate the bronze grasshopper, causing it to swell hundreds of times in the wind. The heart, Karma Venerable, was shocked once more. Your physique can actually withstand the pressure of a divinity transformation cultivator. An ordinary Venerable's casual strike could cause even a 9 aperture Nascent Soul cultivator's body to collapse, yet Fang Chen remained unharmed. But what of it? A Divinity Transformation Venerable and a Nascent Soul cultivator are two different tiers of existence. You cannot contend so easily. He glanced at the bronze grasshopper, his eyes showing even greater disdain. Fleeing in front of a Venerable, wishful thinking. Before his words faded, the heart, Karma Venerable teleported again, appearing ghost-like before the bronze grasshopper. He raised his hand, seized it, and hurled it away violently before it could activate. You can't escape. But just as he threw aside the bronze grasshopper, suddenly the heart, Karma Venerable, sensed a terrifying punch wind from behind. It was actually a Divinity Transformation, level yin corpse, its body covered in chains and immensely burly. It had been hiding behind the bronze grasshopper all along, and took this moment when the heart, Karma Venerable, threw the grasshopper to launch a sneak attack from behind. It turned out that Fang Chen had no intention of fleeing. He had set a feint, using the Divinity Transformation yin corpse as his real killing move. The heart, Karma Venerable's heart, leaped in alarm. How could he dare to take a direct blow from a same-level Divinity Transformation Venerable without any defense? He had the thought to teleport away, but right at that moment, a brocade pouch that Fang Chen had long prepared in his hand burst open with a pop. It was precisely the illusory sound of the mortal world bestowed by the red dust Venerable, a mysterious powder that could delude even a Venerable. A cloud of pink mist instantly billowed out, rushing straight toward the heart, Karma Venerable. Having emerged from countless battles, the heart, Karma Venerable, instantly realized this pink mist was no ordinary thing. Without hesitation, he struck out with a palm while teleporting, intending to disperse the mist. But Fang Chen, expressionless, had already planned his next move the moment the pouch burst: spatial translocation. A strand of spatial force instantly enveloped the mist cloud, and when it reappeared, it had directly shrouded the heart, Karma Venerable. Not good, the heart, Karma Venerable, was shocked. He never imagined Fang Chen still hid such a spatial secret art. But he was no ordinary man. At the instant the mist cloud enshrouded him, a sheet of lightning surged from within, sealing all his pores and orifices. Nevertheless, a minuscule amount of the illusory sound of the mortal world still infiltrated his body. Immediately, bursts of bewitching soul, stirring laughter of women echoed in his mind, and his spirit sank briefly into infatuation. When he realized the danger and jolted awake, a piercing pain shot through his neck. The Divinity Transformation yin corpse's 5 fingers were pressed together like a blade, thrusting fiercely toward his neck to sever his head from his body. The heart, Karma Venerable's hairs stood on end. How could he have imagined that trying to kill a mere Nascent Soul Jr. would lead to such a life and death crisis? At the critical moment, he twisted his neck suddenly. The yin corpse's palm scraped past his throat. Squelch! That razor-sharp palm mercilessly sliced through his flesh, tearing away a large chunk of neck meat. Focusing his gaze, he saw that 1/3 of Xinnai Zunji's neck had been blasted off, exposing the blood-drenched cervical bones. Had his reaction been half a beat slower, his entire head would likely have flown away. Xinnai Zunji, shocked and furious, swung an elbow strike in retaliation.
Bang!
The chest of the Divine Transformation yin corpse instantly exploded, its massive body sent flying backward. He clutched his neck, feeling the searing agony, his ferocity surging to the heavens. Like an enraged beast, he glared furiously at Fang Chen, never imagining this brat could be so troublesome. Meanwhile, Fang Chen remained expressionless. A 60-foot all-yin corpse materialized beside him, his palm pressed against the corpse, while his left hand gripped a heavenly thunderstone brimming with immense blood. Red thunder. Weren't you searching for a cultivator of void flow thunder force? Fang Chen's voice turned icy, then let you witness what void flow thunder force truly is: stellar transposition. In an instant, both the void flow thunder force and void flow fire force returned to him, amplifying his thunder Dao divine art tenfold. Xinnai Zunji's face darkened ominously. I wondered how you evaded my pursuit. So you've cultivated Xia Zunji's stellar transposition. Deceiving me all this time, you deserve death. He dared not teleport recklessly again, lest he fall into another trap. With a backhand motion, he retrieved a spiritual weapon resembling a black iron staff, its surface densely covered with dozens of dark red blood vessels that writhed like crimson worms across the shaft. Forged from the blood vessels of the greatest foes I've slain in my life, this is a top-grade spiritual weapon that kills without a trace. Dying by its hand, you can be proud. With those words, he fiercely swung the staff. The writhing vessels exploded outward, each one's opening lined with black teeth, more like countless blood, sucking leeches than mere vessels. The moment these hundreds of vessels pierced Fang Chen's body, they would drain him into a desiccated corpse devoid of flesh and blood in the blink of an eye. Sensing the peril of those vessels, Fang Chen did not hesitate an instant, and instantly activated the heavenly abyss heart. The blood-red thunder within the heavenly thunderstone was completely absorbed by the heavenly abyss heart. The perfected heavenly abyss heart possessed a hidden, unknown ability. It could unleash all stored thunder power into a single strike in an instant. Coupled with the void flow thunder force finally returning to its rightful place, the might of Fang Chen's strike would reach an unprecedented level. He raised his arm and struck with ferocious intent. A terrifying sword of thunder, its form interwoven with both blood, red and pale lightning, towered boundlessly, once again manifesting over the taking grand continent after a long absence. His current thunder power already surpassed his former by tenfold. Fused with the void flow thunder force, it was amplified yet another tenfold. Thus, a thunder sword that spanned the horizon, immeasurably vast, burst forth across the sky. Even the widely experienced Xin Nai Zun Ji was deeply shaken by this sight. With Fang Chen's low shout, the boundless thunder sword bore down ruthlessly, causing the heavens and earth to quake violently. The blazing thunderlight outshone the scorching sun, drowning out all light in the world, completely engulfing Xin Nai Zunji and the countless blood vessels he had unleashed.
Boom!
Immediately after, a heaven-devouring roar erupted. The earth seemed split asunder, spewing sky, rending dust. As the thunderlight faded, smoke and dust swept across all directions like a giant dragon, revealing a horrifying gully that stretched straight to the edge of sight. Fang Chen's face had paled slightly. This strike had drained all his thunder power. Whether he had successfully slain Xin Nai Zunji, however, remained unknown. As the dust gradually cleared, an aged figure standing midair slowly emerged. Xin Nai Zunji exuded a terrifying ferocity, staring down at the top, great spiritual weapon in his hand. Every blood vessel on the staff had been severed, then reduced to charred, blackened remnants by the thunder sword. His lifetime accumulation of vessels was completely destroyed.
Little beast.
An earth-shattering roar exploded, dispersing all the dust around him and revealing his battered, wretched visage. His robes were utterly ruined, his body covered in scorch marks. Had the staff in his hand not blocked most of the attack, he would have been gravely wounded. Destroying my supreme treasure, I will not spare you. Fang Chen's attack was already no weaker than that of a Divine Transformation Venerable. Xin Nai Zunji roared incessantly, the divine ring behind his head blazing with light, and bellowed, "Heart Calamity Domain." In an instant, an invisible force sealed this corner of the world. Fang Chen immediately felt a tremendous killing intent surge from the depths of his soul. He originally bore no intense hatred towards Xin Nai Zunji. It was merely a life-for, death struggle for self-preservation. Yet under the Heart Calamity Domain, this killing intent intensified unprecedentedly, reddening his eyes and pushing him to the brink of losing reason. Xin Nai Zunji spoke with murderous coldness. "I know your heart is bright, without darkness, but when you fight to the death, it is impossible not to give rise to killing intent. Since there is killing intent under my domain, all enemies become beasts driven by bloodlust, and your greatest reliance was precisely staying calm and employing various methods. Now your reliance is gone. As a veteran of countless brutal battles, Xin Nai Zunji hit the nail on the head, directly pinpointing Fang Chen's greatest weakness. Fang Chen shouted in a low voice, "I won't be influenced by you," yet he roared and charged at Xin Nai Zunji like a mindless beast. Xin Nai Zunji sneered coldly, saying, "Even among venerables, few can withstand my domain, let alone you." Watching the charging Fang Chen, he indifferently raised a single fin pointed from afar and softly uttered 3 words, "It's over." Meanwhile, as Fang Chen fought his way here from the Dakang region, and now found himself in mortal peril, at the same time by the moonlit lake, a gentle breeze stirred ripples across the water, and the reflection of a white pagoda swayed gently in the lake. Atop the white pagoda, Chen Jing gazed at the graceful figure in a yellow dress, sitting cross-legged on the tower summit, silently gazing at the horizon. Her smooth, jet-black hair cascaded down her back, its tips gently swaying, carrying a faint fragrance on the breeze. The elegant curve of her waist, her delicate shoulders, her snowy neck, this picturesque beauty left Chen Jing unable to extricate himself. Having stepped onto the path of defiance, he found it increasingly hard to suppress his desires. The more the world restrained him, the more he longed to break free. Zhenyan Zunji did not turn around, simply staring into the distance blankly, and said lightly, "Focus on your cultivation. No need to worry about me. Chen Jing stepped closer, the increasingly clear scent of her body intoxicating him further, and spoke. Master, I will find a way to restore your domain. I swear, I definitely will. Zhenyan Zanji still did not turn, saying indifferently, what method? Tell me. Chen Jing froze. He had only spoken casually, not expecting her to take it seriously. Stammering, he replied, I will find a way. Zhenyan Zanji turned her head and cast him a faint glance, asking, Do you know what I detest most in this life? Chen Jing halted his steps, not daring to draw nearer, and answering hypocrisy. Precisely because of that, Master walks the path of truth. Zhenyan Zanji withdrew her gaze, saying calmly, Good that you know. Don't speak false words before me. I dislike it. Chen Jing's face flushed red, yet he remained unwilling, arguing, Then what about Fang Chen? He swaggers and deceives everyone across the heavenly realm, and even tricked Xin Nai Zanji time and again. Why doesn't Master detest him? Zhenyan Zanji said, I've told you, don't compare yourself to him. You can't win. Defiance churned in Chen Jing's eyes, saying again and again that he was inferior to Fang Chen. How was he inferior? How many years had he spent with Zhenyan Zanji, while Fang Chen had only known her for how long? Pain stabbed his heart, and a tremendous sense of crisis rose within him. He glanced at the damaged corner of Zhenyan Zanji's divine ring, gritted his teeth, and stealthily retrieved the jade slip containing Xin Nai Zanji's domain. Approaching inconspicuously, he said, Master, there is something your disciple wishes to confess. Without turning, Zhenyan Zanji replied, Speak. Chen Jing moved behind her, took a deep breath, gripped the jade slip, and thrust it toward her back, coldly shouting, What I want to say is, you are mine. Fang Chen won't take you away. But to his shock, his strike met nothing but empty air. The Zhenyan Zanji before him dissipated into a puff of mist. Chen Jing exclaimed in alarm, An illusion. From behind him, Zhenyan Zanji's icy voice suddenly sounded. The Bodhisattva warned me to guard against you. I originally didn't believe it. Never did I expect you truly would ambush me. Chen Jing's heart skipped a beat, as if missing a measure. Before he could react, his hand was empty. The jade slip had been snatched away. Zhenyan Zanj held the jade slip, her beautiful face coated in thick frost, and shouted sternly, Kneel. Chen Jing turned around, fists clenched tightly, refusing to kneel, and aid with resentment. I've done nothing wrong. Shifu belongs to me alone. I won't allow anyone to take you away. Zhenyan Zanj's face was filled with rage. With a sweep of her hand, the overpowering might of a venerable pressed Chen Jing flat onto the ground. She berated him, shameless to the extreme. I am your master. How dare you harbor improper thoughts about your own master? Chen Jing gritted his teeth, preferring to be crushed to the ground than kneel. Full of bitter indignation, he said, You're younger than me. Back when I saved you, I was at the 6 apertures Nascent Soul stage, and you were only 8 apertures Nascent Soul hardly above me. You weren't qualified to be my master. But why did I become your disciple? Don't you know in your heart, I only wanted to stay by your side? I thought that once I also stepped into the Divine Transformation realm, I would become the youngest venerable in the Taking Grand State, just like you. The only worthy partner you could choose, but my luck was poor. My last attempt at Divine Transformation failed, yet I didn't lose heart. I started over and struck at Divine Transformation again, all to be with you in the end, but I never expected a Fang Chen to barge in and sleep with you. What's even more unbearable is that you've actually fallen for him, so I had to act first. I had to have you. Hearing Chen Jing's unprecedented confession, Zhenyan Zanj felt neither moved nor shocked, only disgusted. She stepped back and said coldly, You are overthinking. Even if you break through to the Divine Transformation Venerable realm, even if you become the youngest Divine Transformation cultivator in the Taking Grand State besides me, I sent you. Ill would not choose you. You are not exceptional enough to make me transgress the Master. Disciple bond and be with you. Furthermore, my father is a great venerable who has undergone the 5 declines of heavenly and human. If I were to seek a partner, I would seek someone like my father, a peerless peak of the mortal world, not you. Chen Jing's teeth clenched, so everything he had done was wishful fight. King, and no matter how hard he tried, he could never gain Zhenyan Zanj's approval. He shouted in accusation, Then, what about Fang Chen? His cultivation is inferior even to mine, yet you sacrificed your domain, and even died for him. You're lying, Zhenyan Zanj replied coldly. I have no romantic feelings for Fang Chen, only admiration. Nothing more. Pausing, Zhenyan Zanj's eyes suddenly narrowed. She pressed, How do you know I damaged my domain for Fang Chen? Do you know the secret I was hiding for him? Thinking of this, she looked at the jade slip in her hand, briefly sensed it, and her expression drastically changed. Did you meet Zini Zanj? Did you betray him? Chen Jing laughed, a cold, cold laugh. That's right, if I can't have master, neither can Fang Chen. By now, he should have been flayed and tortured to death by Zini Zunj. After all, he was masquerading as Zini Zunj's true disciple. If I was Zini Zunj, I'd make him beg for death, but be unable to die. Zhenyan Zunj's body swayed. Furious, she said, "You deserve to die. Fang Chen's abilities could contribute greatly to the fight against the ancient giants, protecting countless people. Killing him is tantamount to killing many innocent people." Chen Jing shouted fiercely, "I don't care. He stole my woman. He deserves to die." Zhenyan Zunj was filled with rage. She was no longer just disappointed in Chen Jing, but disgusted, deeply disgusted. She declared, in an icy tone, "Chen Jing, you disgust me. From this moment on, you are expelled from the sect. We are no longer master and disciple. Get out. I never want to see you again in this life." With a sweep of her sleeve, she hurled Chen Jing out of the White Tower. Chen Jing, seething with fury and malice, said, "For Fang Chen, you banish me from the cleansing Moon Lake. You're ungrateful. If I hadn't saved you back then, you would have died in the Eastern Sea in your madness." Zhenyan Zunj said coldly, "Not killing you is the greatest repayment of gratitude. Our debts are settled, we owe each other nothing, and now, what you should worry about is whether Fang Chen will settle the score with you. If he lives, you'll be dead no matter where you flee to heaven or hide in the earth." With that, she leaped into the teleportation array, rushing toward Whitehorse Temple, her RT burning with urgency. If Fang Chen died because of her disciple's betrayal, her guilt would be immense. Chen Jing wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his face dark as he followed, snorting coldly, HMPH. "I refuse to believe he can survive Zini Zunj's hands." Time passed slowly, a full incense stick's worth. After Fang Chen arrived from Daking, he now stood beneath the sky, bearing Black Pillar. Zini Zunj coldly watched as Fang Chen charged at him like a wild beast. With a light flick of his index finger, a wisp of annihilating death intent shot out. A trace of complexity flickered in his aged eyes as he murmured softly, "If only you truly were my disciple." The terrifying force hurtled toward Fang Chen. In the next moment, SH and blood would scatter as he burst apart on the spot. However, Fang Chen suddenly regained clarity without warning. His hands swiftly formed a seal, and a surge of spatial force materialized without any sign behind Zini Zunj. Zini Zunj was startled. Fang Chen had actually broken free from his heart, devil domain. Only then did he notice that many streaks of white hair had eerily appeared amidst Fang Chen's black hair, and wisps of ash from burned wish paper fluttered out from his sleeves. It dawned on him, before losing his mind, Fang Chen had calmly said, "You will not affect me." He had been making a wish. He had long since shaken off the domain's influence, but continued to feign madness, all to lull Zini Zunj into complacency and create this very moment for his attack. Without a second thought, Zini Zunj swung a backhanded punch at the spatial force behind him. A sound of flesh being pierced rang out. He twisted his head to look. It was the Divine Transformation Yin corpse. Its abdomen had been pierced through, yet it felt no pain. It stretched out both arms and clamped tightly around Zini Zunj. A wave of dread washed over Zini Zunj. Fang Chen intended to subdue him, and surely a devastating final move would follow. "Get off!" Zini Zunj bellowed with a heaven-shaking roar, straining to pry apart the Divine Transformation Yin corpse's arms that were locked around him in a death grip. Yet the Divine Transformation Yin corpse held on with such deadlock, as if its body had been cast together with his own. No matter how he struggled, it did not budge an inch. Zini Zunj steeled his heart, resolutely activating his movement technique, intending to drag the Divine Transformation Yin corpse along with him in an instant teleportation. He thought that as long as he made a swift escape, no matter what killing move Fang Chen had prepared, it could never harm him. But just then, an unforeseen change erupted. The dense, miasmic demon fluid that had splattered everywhere earlier had, at some unknown moment, silently gathered and all seeped back into the Divine Transformation Yin corpse's body. Now it surged out explosively, transforming into an incredibly adhesive, glue-like substance that stuck Zini Zunj firmly in place. Simultaneously, another portion of the demon fluid adhered their feet to the ground with such tenacity that he completely lost the strength to even lift a leg and flee. "Brat, you're courting death." Zini Zunj was instantly both shocked and enraged. Even at a distance, he prepared to channel his mana to blast Fang Chen to oblivion. But it was at this exact moment that Fang Chen resolutely struck. With a flick of his finger, the three supreme, great spirit swords behind him unsheathed with a resonant clang, their sword cries echoing like dragon roars across all four directions. Grand derivation sword formation, Fang Chen uttered in a low voice, pointing his fingertip from afar directly at Zini Zunj. The three supreme, great spirit swords instantly transformed into a three-colored divine rainbow, cleaving through the air with an edge that could sever all existence. This was Fang Chen's ultimate killing blow. Zinni Zun's pupils constricted sharply. He clearly felt the power of annihilation contained within that three-colored divine rainbow and cried out in horror, a heaven-tier sword art. And executed with 3 supreme-grade spirit swords, his heart pounded wildly. In his eyes, that 3-colored rainbow was no longer a splendid arc of light, but death itself, cold to the bone. With a piercing shoo, the 3-colored divine rainbow seemed to teleport, slashing through in an instant. Zinni Zun's body was locked down in place, completely unable to dodge. In that hair's breadth between life and death, a glint of ruthless determination flashed in his eyes. He forcibly twisted his legs, turning them like contorted rubber, and along with the divine transformation yin corpse adhered to him, its legs were wrenched around as well. This way, the divine transformation yin corpse was now positioned in front, its broad back set to take the full brunt of the 3-colored divine rainbow. With a muffled thump, the 3-colored divine rainbow struck at precisely that moment. The peerless rainbow radiance pierced cleanly through the divine transformation yin corpse's back without obstruction. Hearing the dull impact behind him, Zinni Zun felt both lingering fear and relief. Thank the heavens his reaction had been swift enough to trade his legs for a slim chance at survival, otherwise it would be him split into 3 right now. But he still underestimated the profundity of the grand derivation sword array. After the sword array cleaved apart the spirit-severing yin corpse, the 3 supreme-grade spirit swords swept back and sheathed themselves, leaving behind a 3-colored divine rainbow flickering erratically with violent flashes. Venerable Zinni turned his head, his pupils instantly shrinking to the size of needle points. His aged face was utterly drowned in terror amidst the explosive flashes of tricolored light. No, Venerable Zinni cried out in alarm, but just as the words left his mouth, the tricolored light burst apart completely. Countless tricolored spangles, like a death god's rainstorm, shot out in all directions. Wherever the spangles passed, the spirit-severing yin corpse was instantly pierced with bloody holes. In the blink of an eye, the dense spangles riddled it into a sieve, blood gushing like a fountain. Venerable Zinni was right beside it. How could he possibly evade? Amid the piercing scream, Venerable Zinni was likewise shot full of holes all over his body, spirit-severing blood splattering everywhere, even his head becoming like a beehive. At that moment, the spirit-severing yin corpse could no longer hold on. Its sieve-like body instantly collapsed, turning into bone paste and rotten flesh. Venerable Zinni also staggered. Not a single inch of his skin left intact. His body had been utterly destroyed. Little bastard. Venerable Zinni's throat was pierced, emitting a dry, rasping roar. Then he collapsed with a thud, his body no longer able to hold together, falling apart on the spot into a puddle of minced flesh. A generation's Venerable Zinni had actually been cut down beneath the sword just like that. Thud, Fang Chen also exhausted all his strength, kneeling weakly on the ground, his face slightly pale. Activating the Grand Derivation Sword Array had drained all his nascent soul power. Now he didn't even have the strength to lift a hand. To kill Venerable Zinni, he had completely depleted his blood thunder, used the red dust phantom sound, consumed an incomparably precious wish-granting paper, and even utterly destroyed the spirit-severing yin corpse. The price could be said to be excruciatingly heavy. But as long as he could eliminate this sworn enemy who had pursued him relentlessly since they set foot on this continent, everything was worth it. I won. Fang Chen tiredly raised his head to the sky, a relieved smile slowly appearing on his face. From this moment on, he would never again have to worry day and night about his void flow thunder force being exposed. However, at that very moment, a faint creak sound reached his ears. Fang Chen suddenly lowered his gaze, his pupils contracting sharply. He saw that Venerable Zinni's shattered flesh and rotten bones were rapidly gathering toward the original location of his skeleton. At his chest cavity, a green jade slip was revealed. An unimaginably powerful domain fluctuation was spreading outward from that jade slip. That domain actually possessed the heaven-defying ability to revive the dead and regrow flesh on bones. Venerable Zinni's flesh and blood rapidly reassembled around the jade slip, tightly knitting together. In the blink of an eye, Venerable Zinni, who had clearly died a thorough death under the blessing of the jade slip's domain, actually recovered completely. His skin was flawless, his aura surged to its peak, and even the vitality he had lost earlier from using the wish-granting paper was restored. If not for his robe being covered in countless holes, Fang Chen might even have doubted whether his Grand Derivation Sword Array had ever slashed him at all. The resurrected Venerable Zinni slowly opened his eyes, his aged eyes filled with a chilling sneer. "Little bastard, you didn't expect me to have this trick, did you?" Fang Chen's heart immediately sank to the bottom, his face filled with despair. His nascent soul power was completely empty. What could he use to fight Venerable Xin Nai, who was at his peak again? That domain inside the jade slip, is it Sheoti's? Fang Chen asked weakly. A domain with such a heaven-defying ability other than that Sheoti who was in the 5 declines of the Heavenly Man stage. There was absolutely no second person. Venerable Xin Nai, feeling the immense power of his body, grinned ferociously as he walked toward Fang Chen, who had lost all ability to resist. I've never admired anyone in my life, if not for an enormous benefit. How could I be willing to submit to Sheoti and work for him? His life-saving domain is the reason I serve him. Fang Chen let out a long sigh. I had thought that, coming from Sheoti Mountain, you would definitely have an extremely powerful trump card. I just never imagined it would be something as heaven-defying as resurrection. Even Fang Chen, at this moment, felt a stifling sense of unfairness, as if the opponent was cheating. He had spent everything, yet the opponent could resurrect and fight again. It was simply too unfair. Venerable Xin Nai laughed. Don't feel wronged. You, with a 7 apertures nascent soul body, slaying a venerable. If not unprecedented, it is definitely without equal in history. Even Sheoti back then never had the feat of slaying a venerable with 7 apertures. You are truly remarkable. Fang Chen smiled bitterly. Thank you for your consolation, Venerable. As they spoke, Venerable Xin Nai had already arrived in front of Fang Chen. The peak venerables might press down heavily, suppressing Fang Chen so that he could hardly move while sitting on the ground. All the bones in his body emitted cracking sounds under the unbearable pressure, not to mention counterattacking. He couldn't even sneakily activate the wish-granting paper. At this moment, he had truly reached the end of the road. Venerable Xin Nai looked down at him, a deep reluctance flashing in his aged eyes. I really can't bear to kill you. Compared to my youth, you are so outstanding that I feel ashamed. I can imagine that your future will be brilliant. You will surely break through the spirit-severing shackles, become a generation's venerable, and finally step onto the stage of the 5 declines of the Heavenly Man, contending the great venerables for the heavenly chance to become a sage. On the battlefield of the grand world struggle, your figure will be forever etched in the annals of mortal history. You will surely leave a brilliant mark. I truly wish I had such a disciple. Regrettably, you are someone Sheoti wants dead, and I cannot spare you. As he spoke, he raised his index finger and slowly pointed it toward Fang Chen's forehead. Under the awe-inspiring power of a supreme venerable, Fang Chen's very soul trembled. There was no suspense left. He would be utterly obliterated under this strike. Yet Fang Chen remained exceptionally calm and said softly, Venerable, strike. You have your stance. I do not blame you. Venerable Xin Nai gazed at Fang Chen and remained silent for a long time. After a long while, he finally spoke with a slightly hoarse voice. I will give you a swift end, and I will not seek revenge on your family and friends. Fang Chen closed his eyes and said slowly, Thank you. A flicker of pity crossed Venerable Xin Nai's eyes. In your next life, become my disciple again. From his withered finger, a mighty force that extinguished all life surged forth, piercing straight toward Fang Chen's skull. Drip. Blood trickled from the forehead, dripping drop by drop onto the ground. The blood drops that welled up grew more and more numerous, quickly converging into a stream of blood gushing out. Venerable Xin Nai reached up to touch his own forehead, looking at the glaring blood in his palm, his aged eyes filled with deep confusion. Why? He staggered backward, his life force visibly draining away at a rapid pace, yet Fang Chen's forehead was completely unharmed. Fang Chen slowly opened his eyes, stood up, and said calmly, It's the fortune shift lock. Venerable Xin Nai lowered his head to look at his abdomen, trembling as he reached in and forcibly pulled out a piece of bloodied ice. Within the ice, a tiny heart-shaped lock was sealed. His aged face rapidly paled and his lips began to quiver. When was this placed inside my body? I didn't notice it at all. Fang Chen looked at him and said solemnly, When I used spatial arts to cast the red dust phantom sound on you. Venerable Xin Nai suddenly understood, holding the fortune shift lock, and laughed bitterly. So, releasing the red dust phantom sound was just a smokescreen. What you truly intended to use was this fortune shift lock. Fang Chen nodded. To immobilize you, I could have just used the wish-granting paper. Something like the red dust phantom sound is hard to be effective on a venerable who can teleport. I never expected it to work. The reason I still used it was merely to draw your attention. What I truly wanted to send into your body through spatial teleportation was this fortune shift lock. He drew his purple sword and walked slowly toward Venerable Xin Nai. I had no confidence in a battle with you, Venerable, so I had to leave a path of retreat. This fortune shift lock was my final resort. If all my other methods failed, it would be the only hope to turn the tables. Having understood everything, Venerable Xinnai, holding the fortune shift lock, laughed with a face full of desolation. I actually died by my own magic treasure. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. The laughter had yet to cease when a wet splat sounded divine blood gush from his head, and Venerable Xinnai could no longer hold on. He collapsed to the ground, the fortune reversing lock tumbling from his grasp. The lethal strike meant for Fang Chen's head had been entirely transferred back onto himself, inflicting an irreversible, fatal wound. The Lesser Emperor's domain had already been expended. This time, he truly had no way to reverse the heavens. Sitting on the ground, he lifted his head and laughed bitterly at the sky, murmuring, I, Xinnai, have galloped through life, slain countless foes, faced formidable enemies beyond measure, and survived the most perilous battles. Who would have thought? His voice trailed off, fading into a mournful sigh carried away by the wind. In the end, I die at the hands of a 7 apertures, Nascent Soul cultivator. But my death is not unjust. To die at the hands of a peerless paragon who has surpassed even the Lesser Emperor, my death is far from unjust. A cold sword rested against his neck. Venerable Xinnai looked up to meet Fang Chen's calm, unruffled eyes, and a slow smile spread across his face. He drew a deep breath and declared with serene acceptance, I have lost, and I concede utterly and completely. Strike. To capture you, I slaughtered until rivers ran red with blood. You have long yearned to carve my flesh into 1,000 pieces. Now, avenge those innocent dead. Fang Chen's expression remained placid, devoid of joy or sorrow. His sword hand was unwavering as he spoke slowly. You indeed deserve death, and indeed deserve to pay for your deeds. I will kill you without the slightest mercy. Before his words fully settled, his tone paused briefly, then shifted unexpectedly. But first, I want to say thank you. Thank you for guiding me on the path to deity transformation, and for entrusting me with your legacy in your final moments. Your disciple, Fang Chen, gratefully acknowledges the grace of a master. Venerable Xinnai's expression froze, a complex light flickered in his eyes, and his voice came out hoarse. You still call me master? Fang Chen answered without hesitation, a teacher for a day, a master for life. I have only had 2 masters in my life. One is Liu Qingchen of the Azure Cloud sect. The other is Venerable Xinnai of Lesser Emperor Mountain in Heaven Prefecture. That will never change. At these words, Venerable Xinnai laughed, his shoulders loosening with mirth. He said repeatedly, Good, good, this master also thanks you. With that, he smiled and closed his eyes, lifting his chin high, offering his life unreservedly to Fang Chen's sword. Fang Chen slowly gripped his sword hilt and said in a deep voice, Your disciple, Fang Chen, respectfully bids you farewell on your journey, master. A flash of purple light, a soaring sword aura. Venerable Xinnai's head was on the verge of being cleanly severed, no suspense left. Clap, clap. 2 crisp claps of applause rang out without warning from nearby. Immediately after, a lazy, sultry female voice followed, a disciple affectionately slaying his master. How truly splendid! Fang Chen's body jolted violently. Someone else had been hiding nearby. He decisively abandoned beheading Xinnai, held his sword horizontally before his chest, and instantly whipped his head around. Not far from the sky, reaching Black Pillar, the space rippled. There stood a bewitching woman, wreathed in demonic kai, a black divine halo suspended above her head. One hand rested on her hip, the other carelessly toyed with a stealth spiritual tool. She had a pair of amorous peach, blossom eyes, and she was studying Fang Chen and Venerable Xinnai with undisguised amusement. Fang Chen's heart plummeted. He immediately recognized who this black, haloed female venerable was, the demoness. The very same demoness venerable who had chased Wang Chengxi out all the way from the great wilderness prefecture. She had been hiding near by all along. Fang Chen silently cursed Venerable Wu Yu. What was that fool doing? Hadn't he gone after the demoness? How was it that he hadn't found her, yet she had found her way here instead? Though his heart was shocked, Fang Chen's face feigned unfamiliarity as he said in a deep voice, Senior, may I ask what guidance you have to offer? The demoness looked him up and down with keen interest, her voice laced with provocative mockery. So you're Fang Chen, the one that lustful little western sea dragon spoke of. He said you battled a demon emperor at core formation, fought a bodhisattva at Nascent Soul. I thought it was all boastful lies. But I never expected he wasn't exaggerating. It's all true. A 7 apertures Nascent Soul slaying a venerable. No one would believe me if I told them. And besides... She took half a step closer, her gaze growing even hotter, just as that little dragon said, You are extraordinarily handsome, a rarity in this world, the epitome of male perfection. How this elder sister adores you. Fang Chen cursed the Western Sea Prince again in his mind. That bastard truly knew how to bring trouble his way. Suppressing his vigilance, he said heavily, "Senior flatters me. This junior in fact has many flaws, unworthy of such high regard." The demoness swayed her snake, like waist, sauntering over with a half-smile. "Did you think that by saying so, elder sister would let you off? Be a good boy and come back with me, become my favorite consort. Elder sister will treat you lovingly." Fang Chen's expression darkened slightly. He was not so naive as to think that, with the demonic cultivator's cruelty, being her consort would be anything pleasant. To be drained of his essence and utterly wrecked was the honor. Why final destination for her male pets? His eyes shifted, and he said, "Senior, why don't I introduce someone even more outstanding to be your consort?" The demoness licked her scarlet lips, her smile deepening. "Is he even better than you?" Fang Chen nodded vigorously, his tone utterly convinced. "Absolutely. Alone, he roams unchecked across the celestial realm, sweeping aside all before him. He has thrown countless ancient giant tribes into utter chaos, slaughtering ancient giants, seizing the wives of giant chieftains, burning their settlements to ashes. The giant emperor himself singled him out, proclaiming him the foremost paragon of the Central Plains. His name is Wang Chengxiao. If Senior is interested, I will undertake to arrange an introduction." The demoness gave a slight nod, as if savoring the name, singled out by the giant emperor himself. He does have some real skill. But her tone shifted, her eyes sparkling with flirtatious charm as they bore directly into Fang Chen only. "Distant water can't quench a near-by thirst. Elder sister feels it's best to secure you first, to quench this thirst right now." Whoosh! Her words still hung in the air when, in the next instant, she materialized right in front of Fang Chen and grabbed his right hand. She glanced down and saw Fang Chen clutching a wish paper, ready to activate. The demoness giggled. "Oh, you were thinking of using a wish paper to escape, weren't you?" She leaned in, a rich, heady fragrance wafting over, her exquisitely seductive face brimming with triumphant confidence. "Wish paper anyone except Confucian cultivators from the primordial chaos prefecture who uses it pays a price in vitality. If you turned into an old man, elder sister would be heartbroken to death." Fang Chen's heart sank even further. Perhaps because this wish paper was refined from spirit materials brimming with righteous energy from the primordial chaos prefecture, the demoness was extraordinarily sensitive to it. The moment he drew one out, it was instantly detected. Seeing the demoness lean in to kiss him, Fang Chen shouted hastily, "Don't come close, I bear the sage's inscription." The demoness halted abruptly, a flicker of caution in her eyes. Her gaze swept over him swiftly, skeptical. "You have that inscription, then why didn't you use it when you were fighting that old bastard?" "I don't believe it." Fang Chen gritted his teeth, steeling himself. "Then try hitting me." The demoness, suspicious, raised a powder-soft fist and tentatively gave a light thump to his chest. In the next instant, she suddenly went dazed and distracted, her arm involuntarily hooked around Fang Chen's neck as she threw herself into his arms. Seizing this trigger opportunity, Fang Chen swallowed a large gulp of space-time dust and decisively activated the wish paper. "I go 80,000, lie." But before his wish was fully formed, his mouth was tightly sealed by a dense coil of demonic Kai. The demoness had recovered with shocking swiftness. She had barely been affected by the sage's inscription. Fang Chen froze, then sudden realization dawned this demoness was one of the Asura Holy Sun's people. That one must have left life, preserving means on her. Perhaps she even bore a sage's inscription herself. That was why Fang Chen's inscription couldn't deeply affect her. A beating is affection, scolding is love. Instead of releasing him, the demoness pressed herself even closer, nestling against his chest as she burst into peals of coquettish laughter. Her ample bosom quivered against his chest, her voice brimming with delighted surprise, which sage bestowed such an inscription upon you. Elder sister absolutely adores it. Fang Chen was completely stunned, then felt a surge of blood in his throat, almost gagging. Such a carved message would be a devastating weapon to any decent woman, plunging her into utter shame and fury. Yet for the demoness before him, who had been hell, bent on taking advantage of him from the start, it was nothing less than a divine assist. Fang Chen felt like weeping, but had no tears left. Gritting his teeth, he forced out, "Senior, please let me go. Whatever part of me you fancy, I'll change it, all right." The demoness laughed even more wantonly, reaching out to tap his nose with a finger. "I like everything about you. Now, come along." "No use letting the night stretch on and invite trouble. Let your big sister take you for some fun first." Seeing that he was about to be dragged away by force, Fang Chen suddenly clenched his teeth and bellowed, "Wu, you venerable. You've finally come."
What?
The demoness was jolted. Instinctively, she teleported away in a flash. Seizing the fleeting moment, Fang Chen instantly activated the wish paper, "Restore all my cultivation." In that split second, over a dozen grains of space-time dust were consumed completely. The void flow, thunder force, and nascent soul power he had lost surged back into his body in an instant. With a mere thought, the scattered swirls of demonic mist around him instantly converged, forming a cloud of particles and droplets encircling him. At the same time, the three peerless spirit swords on his back began to tremble violently, poised to leap from their sheaths at any moment. Only after all this was Fang Chen somewhat relieved. The demoness scanned the surroundings nervously. Only after confirming there was no sign of Wu, you Venerable's aura, did she suddenly realize she'd been tricked. Her phoenix eyes narrowed, and she stared coldly at Fang Chen. "You tricked me? No. How did you know Wu, you Venerable, was in the Taking Grand Province, and that I would fear her? Could it be that you were the one who put her up to hunting me?" Fang Chen's heart chilled. This demoness, whose mind seemed entirely consumed by thoughts of men, was surprisingly sharp. She had immediately guessed that he had instigated Wu, you Venerable, against her. What raised his guard even more was that her words implied she had already encountered Wu, you Venerable, and managed to escape from her hands. This could only mean the demoness's power was terrifyingly immense. Fang Chen saw no point in lying further. He gave a cold snort and said, "And what if I did?" Instead of anger, the demoness looked even more intrigued, her eyes gleaming with deeper interest. "Oh ho ho, then I must have you even more. I adore dangerous men like you. Conquering such a man is so much more thrilling." Fang Chen's heart tightened with alarm, and he barked fiercely, "I advise you to leave at once. Otherwise, not only will you fail to devour me, but you'll break a mouthful of teeth trying." The three peerless spirit swords behind him hummed and vibrated fiercely, spilling forth a torrent of killing intent. The demoness covered her mouth, laughing so hard her slender body shook like a trembling flower branch. "Little fool, those tricks of yours are useless against me." Before her words had fully faded, the black divine ring behind her suddenly began flickering erratically, pulsing with rapid, unstable flashes. She was about to unleash her domain. Fang Chen inwardly cursed. He hastily drew out the wish paper, intending to make a wish for resistance, but he was still a step too late. As the invisible wave swept over his body, Fang Chen's mind instantly went blank. In a flash, he lost all sense of self and stood frozen in place, stupefied. The demoness giggled, sauntering over to Fang Chen with her luscious, long legs, every step dripping with seductive allure. She hooked a snowy arm around his neck and purred, "Little darling, just be a good boy and become Big Sister's plaything. I promise I'll spoil you rotten." Just then, a heavy, contemptuous snort exploded without the slightest warning from above their heads. HMPH. The demoness's delicate frame jolted. The divine ring above her head shuddered violently, and the domain she had cast was shattered completely, dissipating into nothing. Fang Chen instantly snapped to his senses and urgently teleported away, his face a mask of shock and suspicion as he scanned the surroundings. What had just happened? The domain that had been imposed upon him had been directly shattered by some mysterious force. The demoness was a venerable herself. Only an existence even more powerful than her could disperse her might. And at this moment, in the entire Taking Grand Province, only two beings at the transformation spirit realm possessed such divine authority. One was Wu Yu Venerable, but if it were him, he would have attacked directly long ago. Then the other. Fang Chen suddenly whipped his gaze toward the heaven, connecting dark pillar, and his face instantly turned rigid. "Oh no, of all times, why show up now?" A look of dread spread across the demoness's face as her gaze swept the surroundings. She shouted in a deep voice, "Who dares? Who ruins my good deed?"
Rumble.
Suddenly, the sky was shrouded by dense, rolling storm clouds, churning and surging. A vast tide of yin energy, like a breached dam, came rushing from the horizon, instantly blanketing the entire world in all directions. Within the thick, impenetrable yin, miasma, a breathtakingly beautiful young girl of 18, clad in a flowing emerald green dress and a face as cold as ice, descended slowly, commanding the sky, filling yin energy. Above her head, two eerie, majestic crowns floated dimly visible. The demoness's expression changed drastically, and she gasped in shock, "An Asura king, and a two-crowned Asura king at that. Where in the Central Plains did an Asura clan come from?" The newcomer was none other than Lu Zhu. As her form slowly settled into place, the sky, skewering yin energy poured into her body like a reversed flood, submerging into her entirely. Her cold, clear eyes fixed upon the demoness with clear hostility, and she spoke in an icy tone, "You dare steal the man I intend to kill." Hearing this, Fang Chen's lips twitched, and he hurriedly forced out a smile. "Lu Zhu, my darling wife, must you be so heartless?" The demoness froze for a moment, then couldn't help but let out a derisive laugh. "Oh, I see, so it's another one trying to steal my man." Lu Zhu immediately flushed with anger and embarrassment, whipping her head around to glare fiercely at Fang Chen. "Who's your wife? Shut up." Then she turned her furious glare back at the demoness. "I have serious business. Get lost." The demoness's beautiful eyes flickered as she swiftly weighed whether to retreat or stay. At last she glanced at the pitiful state of Divine Venerable and, clenching her teeth, declared, "I won't hand over such a top-grade man to you. If you want to snatch my man, you'll have to prove yourself with strength." Lu Zhu was so enraged she actually laughed coldly. "Who's fighting over a man? I'm going to flay him alive." "Since you're courting death, don't blame me. A single venerable from the Central Plains cannot escape my grasp." However, just as her words fell, a somewhat cool and detached voice drifted over from a distance. "And what if you add me to the mix?" Before the words finished, Divine Venerable, clad in a yellow dress, tore through the void and teleported onto the scene. Lu Zhu and the demoness immediately turned to look together. The demoness froze for a beat, then chuckled. "Interesting, another one coming to compete for my man." Hearing this, Divine Venerable nearly stumbled, almost pitching forward head first. Flustered and furious, she snapped, "Who's competing with you for a man?" The demoness giggled and shot back, "If not for a man, why did you rush here so frantically?" Seeing the newcomer, Fang Chen was slightly surprised. He asked, "Senior Zhenyan, why have you come?" The moment the question left his lips, understanding dawned on him. It must be that Divine Venerable had learned of Chen Jing's betrayal and, out of guilt, had come to rescue him. Divine Venerable flashed to his side, shielding Fang Chen, looking at him completely unscathed. Her face was full of astonishment. Relying on her connection to the heavenly thunderstone that had contained the blood lightning, she had rushed over in frantic haste. When she sensed the blood lightning aura vanish en route, she had feared Fang Chen had perished. To her surprise, he was completely unharmed. Even more unbelievable was that Divine Venerable, the one she had clashed with, was slumped on the ground, barely clinging to life. What in the world had happened? Nevertheless, Fang Chen being safe was the best possible outcome. Had he fallen because of her disciple's betrayal, she would have blamed herself for the rest of her life. The weight in Divine Venerable's heart finally lifted, and she let out a long sigh of relief. "As long as you're all right." Fang Chen, however, was so annoyed he laughed. "All right, do you know how much I lost?" Just thinking about the transformation spirit corpse, the wish paper, and the illusory mortal melody made his flesh ache with regret. Divine Venerable, who had always been at odds with Fang Chen, was now so crestfallen she couldn't utter a single word. This time she was truly in the wrong. She swept her gaze around at Lu Zhu and the demoness, frowning, "And what's going on here now?" She didn't know the demoness, but Lu Zhu, how could she not recognize her? Wasn't that Fang Chen's wife Lu Zhu, the one who had washed his face with milk back in the celestial realm? Hearing this, the demoness cackled and blurted out, "So you are Divine Venerable. I've long heard tales of your grand reputation of sharing a husband with another woman. And now here comes a scene of 3 women fighting over 1 man. Tusk, Divine Venerable, you really play big games, don't you?" Divine Venerable's face instantly flushed scarlet. She hastily retorted, "Who's competing with you over a husband?" "Fang Chen, we're leaving." So saying, she pressed down on Fang Chen's shoulder and moved to flash away. The demoness gave a coquettish smile. "Oh no, no, no. Do you really think you can just grab our husband and go?" "First, take a hit from me." Before the words finished, the divine ring behind her head suddenly activated, sending an invisible shockwave sweeping outward. Fang Chen's mind went blank again, and his body instantly lost control. The true word venerable was only dazed for an instant before snapping awake. She snorted coldly, "Your domain is truly shameless. Does it specifically target men?" The demoness shrugged nonchalantly. "If I didn't, how would I have so many pretty consorts?" Fang Chen also regained his senses and immediately seized the chance, shouting, "Senior true word, quickly ask her who the Asura Saint Sun is. Her doom is near." Given the Asura Saint Sun's methods, he surely left fail. Safes on both Lion Hun and the demoness. The moment either of them tried to reveal his identity, he would sense it. Just like when Lion Hun was pulled into the teleportation array, the Asura Saint Sun instantly detected it and hunted him down across space. The demoness was no different. Her greatest weakness was that she had to keep the Asura Saint Sun's secret. And the true word Venerable's ability was precisely the unparalleled tool to pry that secret open. The true word Venerable immediately understood, activated her domain, and thundered, "Who is the Asura Saint Sun?" The demoness's face instantly hardened, and she coldly shouted, "You think I would tell you?" But the moment she opened her mouth within the true word Venerable's domain, she could not speak falsehoods. Uncontrollably, she blurted out, "The Asura Saint Sun is..." The instant the words left her lips, the demoness was scared out of her wits. At the critical juncture before revealing the Asura Saint Sun's identity, she resolutely gritted her teeth and bit off her own tongue. Blood gushed forth, and half her tongue fell to the ground. With her mouth full of mangled flesh and blood, she could only make unintelligible, garbled sounds. Fang Chen slapped his thigh in deep regret, sighing, "So close." If the demoness had reacted a fraction of a second slower, the Asura Saint Sun's identity would have been exposed. The demoness spat out the blood in her mouth, swallowed a healing pill, and her tongue quickly regenerated. She glared at Fang Chen, both shocked and furious. "How do you know about that, Lord?" She had almost been killed by Fang Chen just now. If she had exposed the Asura Saint Sun's identity, she would surely die. Fang Chen replied frankly, "I had the misfortune of being hunted by him in a teleportation array and nearly lost my life. I've been keeping that score." The demoness, uncertain and shaken, couldn't help but reevaluate Fang Chen. Then she cooed seductively, "Oh, you little man, you're getting more and more dangerous. This big sister will have you for sure." As soon as she finished speaking, she clenched her palm, and 7 black rings surged with demonic Kai, hurtling fiercely at the true word Venerable. The true word Venerable's expression flickered. With her left hand shielding Fang Chen, her right hand swiftly summoned a fan, a brand new Phoenix Feather 9 Flames fan. With a sweep, a sea of fire roared to life, crashing forward. The pitch-black demonic flames and the crimson sea of fire crashed against each other like 2 ferocious, opposing tidal waves. The demoness gritted her teeth. "Stinking woman, you even brought out a supreme-grade spirit artifact. You really go all out to snatch a man." The true word Venerable shouted back, "For the last time, I'm not snatching a man, I'm just protecting him." The demoness sneered. "Explaining is just covering up, and covering up means it's the truth." The true word Venerable finally lost her temper. "You shut up, take this." The demoness refused to back down. "Words failed you, so now it's fists. Come on, I'm not afraid of you." Both unleashed their divine abilities and spirit artifacts. Arcs of light burst forth as venerable power swept through the area. The deafening roars drowned out that corner of the world. For a time, they fought evenly matched. Fang Chen realized he had truly underestimated the true word Venerable's combat prowess. He had thought that since her domain was a support type, her strength would be greatly reduced. But as the daughter of the star Abyss Great Exalted, her foundation was simply too profound. He had risked his life on missions in the heavenly realm just to forge a single supreme-grade spirit artifact, yet after the true word Venerable ruined 1 Phoenix Feather 9 Flock Mess fan, she casually obtained a brand new one. But he couldn't just stand idle. His gaze swept around and found Luo Zhu with her arms crossed, coldly watching the 2 women fight tooth and nail. She clearly intended to sit on the mountain and watch tigers fight, waiting to reap the fisherman's profit. How could Fang Chen let her get away with that? His eyes rolled, and he shouted to Luo Zhu, my wife, don't just stand there. Help us drive away that outsider, the demoness, first." "Oh." Luo Zhu instinctively lowered her arms, ready to join the battle, but then she snapped to her senses and roared in frustration, "Who's one of your own? I'll kill you first." She gritted her silver teeth, teleported over, and her eyes nearly shot fire, and that little cuteness, feigning innocent acting spirit, beast swindler. "I'll send both master and servant on their way together." The demoness and true word Venerable, locked in combat, turned pale and both spun their spirit artifacts away from each other to strike at Luo Zhu in unison. Without even looking back, Luo Zhu slapped backward. A massive palm of Yin Kai condensed and sent both spirit artifacts flying. She shouted fiercely, "Fang, no one can save you." Indeed, as a 2-crown Asura king, her strength utterly overwhelmed the demoness and the true word Venerable. No, he had to weaken Luo Zhu. Fang Chen's eyes flashed, and he whispered a low command, "Luo Zhu, be as immovable as a mountain." The space-time dust in his mouth was consumed at an alarming rate. In an instant, 50 grains vanished. The wish paper, long prepared in his sleeve, activated successfully. The charging Luo Zhu was suddenly sealed tightly by a grand and mighty force, unable to move a single muscle. Seeing this, the demoness and true word Venerable would never miss such a golden opportunity. They again unleashed their spirit artifacts, and the black and red flames instantly converged to engulf her. Even though it was only a momentary freeze, Luo Zhu was struck hard. Ah! She groaned in pain, yin kai leaking from her entire body, wisps of blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. The two crowns hovering above her head began to spin chaotically, her aura no longer as vigorous as before. She lifted her head, not looking at the demoness or true word venerable who had struck her, but instead glaring furiously at Fang Chen. Fang Chen had actually ganged up with other women to attack her. Fang Chen felt a pang of guilt under her glare and argued, "You were going to flay me alive. Was I wrong to strike back?" Luo Zhu laughed bitterly in rage. Right. You're not wrong. It's me who's wrong, okay? Happy now." With fingers curved into claws, she viciously clawed at Fang Chen. A monstrous demonic claw of Yin Kai descended upon him. The demoness and true word venerable paled and launched another attack at her from behind. Luo Zhu was forced to retract her hand and deal with them first. Despite her injuries, she erupted with overwhelming combat strength, single-handedly beating the demoness and true word venerable back step by step. Even with the true word venerable's supreme great spirit artifact and the demoness's every trick, Luo Zhu's might was like an insurmountable mountain, pressing down until they cowled barely breathe. Struggling to hold on, the demoness hissed under her breath, "Did this little girl swallow gunpowder? This isn't about snatching a man, it's a fight to the death." The true word venerable forced down the metallic taste of blood in her throat, suffering in silence. For some reason, Luo Zhu's attacks on her were far more vicious than on the demoness, and the hatred in her eyes was far more intense. This left the true word venerable utterly baffled. Seeing that the demoness and true word venerable were about to collapse, Fang Chen dared not hesitate. He immediately shouted, "You too, suppress her as much as you can." The two women shot a glance at the heart, Karma Venerable, and instantly understood Fang Chen was about to use a killing move capable of slaying a venerable. They forcibly withstood Luo Zhu's overwhelming assault, while simultaneously unleashing the full power of their spirit artifacts. The two waves of flame once again converged on Luo Zhu. With the attacks of the two venerables, plus Fang Chen's strike that could slay a venerable, Luo Zhu was bound to suffer severe wounds. Clang! Fang Chen seized the moment, and three supreme, great spirit swords simultaneously left their sheaths. Luo Zhu sensed that Fang Chen was about to attack her again, and flew into a true rage, shouting, "You dare again." Mysterious ripples swirled in her eyes. It was her bloodline talent, memory erasure. The ripples swept outward, and the demoness and true word venerable instantly felt their minds go blank, as if something had suppressed their memories. The two stood dumbfounded on the spot, even forgetting why they were there. Their attacks, no longer sustained, dissipated in succession. Luo Zhu broke free from the sandwich of black and red flame waves, her lovely face ice cold as she glared at Fang Chen. Her voice was bone-chilling. "Fang Chen, I will never forgive you." He had still underestimated the strength of a two-crown Asura king. The gap between two crown and one decay could never be bridged by mere numbers. Watching Luo Zhu approach step by step, Fang Chen said awkwardly, "Luo Zhu, how about you listen to my sophistry one more time?" Luo Zhu only grew angrier, gnashing her teeth. "Do you think I'll fall for your tricks again, you worthless liar whose mouth is full of nothing but lies?" With a swift whoosh, Luo Zhu teleported over, snatching the three supreme, great spirit swords that hadn't yet coalesced into divine rainbows into her palm. Her face was mere inches from Fang Chen's, their breaths audible to each other. Luo Zhu said coldly, "It's time you paid the price." She raised her hand and brought it down in a ruthless slap. Fang Chen's heart thundered, yet he remained relatively calm, for he still had the sage's inscription. This slap from Luo Zhu would plunge her into an uncontrollable state. That would be his moment of escape. Yet the imagined strike never came. As Luo Zhu's palm was about to reach his chest, she suddenly withdrew force, ending with a gentle tap instead. Her expression remained icy, but a misty haze crept into her eyes, and her voice trembled faintly. "You deceived me, made me grind my teeth in hatred. Yet you shielded me with your own body against the sun, chasing Asura King, moving me beyond words. Fang Chen, which one is the real you? Why do you make me hate you yet? I can't forget you." So Luo Zhu still remembered by the ancient celestial crater, where Fang Chen had blocked the Arai Asura king who had transformed into the three-star giant king. She had never been able to let go of that memory. Fang Chen sighed softly. "Both are real. Deceiving you was real. We were enemies I needed to survive. Saving you is also real. You're not evil. I didn't want to watch you die. Is that answer enough?" Hearing the first part, Luo Zhu angrily raised her hand again, but upon hearing the latter, she slowly lowered it, eventually withdrawing it in silence. Her tears slipped down as if a knot in her heart had unraveled, and she sobbed, "Do you know what I was thinking when you selflessly protected me? I was thinking if you survived and returned from Hongxiu's place, why wouldn't I truly be your wife? You were the first person to risk your life for me, yet I erased your memory and used you. Do you know how guilty I felt?" Fang Chen tentatively reached out to wipe away her tears. Lu Zhu slapped his hand away, biting her crimson lip. "But I never expected. It wasn't me deceiving you, but you deceiving me all along. Do you know how furious I was when I learned the truth? My lungs nearly exploded. Do you know what that feels like?" At that point, she couldn't help but laugh herself, yet felt she shouldn't, forcing her face into a stern expression. For a moment, she was a mix of anger and amusement. Fang Chen cleared his throat awkwardly. "Well, it's not too late for you to be my real wife now." Lu Zhu was so angry she laughed, clenching her fists. "Dream on. You fooled me like a complete idiot, and you still want me to be your real wife. You've missed the moment when I was most touched. Spend your life regretting it. You'll never have me again, HMPH. She planted her hands on her hips, tilting her delicate chin up like a proud little peacock, and let out a coquettish snort. Fang Chen was tempted to retort that he lacked no women, but having painstakingly cleared the misunderstanding, he wouldn't provoke this little tigress again. "So he said, then you'd better return to the heaven realm quickly. The commotion here is too great. If the Grand Libationer arrives, it will be hard for you to leave." Hearing Fang Chen's concern for her, Lu Zhu's resentment lessened further, but she still rolled her eyes. "I don't need your hypocritical care. I know my limits." She turned to the dying, barely breathing Xin Naizanj, her expression cold. "So you are Xin Naizanj. I hear you can move the heaven connecting Black Pillar." Mo Nu and Zhen Yanzanj gradually shook off the influence of their innate bloodline, regaining their memories. Hearing those words, both women's eyes flickered, and they surreptitiously glanced at Fang Chen. The true culprit was right beside them. But neither spoke up. They looked at Xin Naizanj, tension rising. Clearly, Lu Zhu's true aim was to kill the mover of the heaven, connecting Black Pillar. If Xin Naizanj exposed Fang Chen, would Lu Zhu spare him? If she did, she wouldn't be able to report back. Fang Chen's expression also tightened. Xin Naizanj must hate him for pushing him to this state. If the truth was revealed, then between him and Lu Zhu, it might come to drawn swords. That was a scene he truly didn't want to witness. Hearing the question, Xin Naizanj raised his head with difficulty, a flash of confusion in his eyes. Since when could he move the heaven, connecting Black Pillar? Wasn't Fang Chen the one truly capable? Noticing Fang Chen's tense expression, he suddenly understood. His dear disciple had been preparing to kill him since their time in the heaven realm. At this thought, he felt even more that his death was deserved, and he couldn't help but shrug and chuckle softly. Lu Zhu frowned. No answer means admission. She turned to Fang Chen and said, "I won't kill you, nor those two female Zunj. I'll only kill this mover of the heaven, connecting Black Pillar, so I can report back to the 5-star Giant King. You won't stop me, will you?" Fang Chen said nothing, simply closing his eyes silently. In his heart, he thought it was for the best. Xin Naizanj was, after all, his master. Dying by his own hand would be unfitting. Letting Lu Zhu end his life might be a good thing. Zhen Yanzanj and Mo Nu also breathed a slight sigh of relief, remaining silent. Seeing their expressions, Lu Zhu nodded with satisfaction. "We've each taken a step back. That's for the best." She stepped before Xin Naizanj and said indifferently, "Killing you isn't my wish, but in the heaven realm, one can't always act freely. I'll give you a quick end." Her hand formed a blade and sliced towards Xin Naizanj's neck. This strike would end everything. Unexpectedly, a sneering voice sounded from not far away. "Senior Asura King, that is not the mover of the heaven, connecting Black Pillar. The real mover is someone else."
Him?
Everyone turned in unison to see a figure hurtling through the air. He wore a blue robe, hair disheveled, his face carrying a hint of rebellious madness. When his gaze fell on Fang Chen, malice immediately surfaced. Who else but Chen Jing? Zhen Yanzan's beautiful eyes blazed with ferocity as she shouted lowly, "Chen Jing, what are you doing?"
Scram.
She truly hadn't expected Chen Jing to dare follow and once again betray secrets. Mo Nu's peach blossom eyes narrowed, murderous intent flickering within. She struck directly at Chen Jing, sending the 7 rings in her palm flying instantly. But a gigantic demonic claw formed from yin energy blocked the rings. Lu Zhu's face darkened, and she said coldly, "Kill him after he speaks." Emanating a powerful aura, she intimidated Zhen Yanzanj and Mo Nu, then regarded Chen Jing with a cold expression. "You say the mover of the heaven, connecting Black Pillar is not him." Chen Jing landed, hands clasped behind his back, a sinister smirk on his face. This man is called Xin Nai Zunj, a person from Tianju, and definitely not the mover of the heave and connecting black pillar. Lu Zhu's gaze sharpened as she glared fiercely at Fang Chen. You lied to me again. Then she demanded in a low voice, who can move the heaven, connecting black pillar. Chen Jing laughed, a triumphant laugh, as if he were the ultimate victor. The corner of his mouth curled up. He is the one known to all in taking great realm. With a malicious grin, he raised his finger and slowly pointed at Fang Chen. Chief Deputy Pavilion, Master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, Fang Chen.
Guys?
Lu Zhu felt as if a hammer had struck her head, leaving a ringing in her mind. Fang Chen was the mover of the heaven, connecting black pillar. The one she had to kill was Fang Chen. She turned her head with difficulty, staring at Fang Chen before her, unable to accept it for a moment. Her voice quavered. Is it really you? She had been ordered to kill the mover of the heaven, connecting black pillar. Failure meant she couldn't return and report. But how could she bring herself to kill Fang Chen? Yet if she couldn't kill Fang Chen, how could she complete her mission? Would the 5-star Giant King spare her? When Fang Chen met Lu Zhu's trembling eyes, his heart grew unbearably heavy. He asked, did the 5-star Giant King give you a military order? At that question, the last shred of hope in Lu Zhu's heart shattered. The one she had to kill was indeed Fang Chen. She nodded blankly. Either I bring back your head, or I bring back my own. Fang Chen closed his eyes slightly. Drawing swords against Xin Nai Zunj had already caused him some sorrow, let alone with Lu Zhu. Gritting his teeth, he looked at Chen Jing with eyes full of hatred, grinding out, you truly deserve to die. He lunged forward, sword slashing toward Chen Jing's neck, saying without looking back, Lu Zhu, our matters can wait. Let me kill him first. Chen Jing neither dodged nor flinched, laughing wildly up at the sky. Go ahead, kill me right in front of my master. If you kill me, there will forever be a barrier between you two. Ha ha ha. The purple sword sliced across the skin of his neck, grazing past it. Fang Chen coldly stared at Chen Jing, but did not strike. No matter how despicable Chen Jing was, he was still Venerable Zhenyan's disciple, after all. To kill her disciple right before her eyes, even if there were no grudges between them, from then on there would be an unbridgeable chasm. The demoness rolled her eyes, covered her mouth and laughed. Little darling, hurry up and kill him. If you kill him, there will be no chance between you and Venerable Zhenyan, and I'll have one less rival. Venerable Zhenyan glared at Chen Jing with utter disgust, utterly shameless. Chen Jing laughed heartily. I should have been shameless long ago. I was too much of a gentleman, never taking advantage of you when you were vulnerable, and that's how Fang Chen got the upper hand. Fortunately, heaven has eyes. You damaged your own domain for Fang Chen's sake. Your days are numbered, and you two can forget about growing old together. Fang Chen's body trembled violently as he looked at Venerable Zhenyan in disbelief. He saw that the divine halo at the back of Venerable Zhenyan's head did indeed have a missing chunk. Startled, he asked, you damaged your domain for me, when Venerable Zhenyan stared at Chen Jing with extreme loathing. Especially when she saw the concerned and guilty look in Fang Chen's eyes, her loathing deepened. She averted her gaze and murmured, it's all in the past. Fang Chen abandoned Chen Jing and flashed over to stand before Venerable Zhenyan. Up close, he finally caught a whiff of a putrid, decaying scent. His heart shook with indescribable shock, and he quickly understood when it had happened. Fang Chen said dazedly, you saw that Venerable Zinni's wish paper pointed to me, but you concealed it for me, didn't you? At that time, he and Venerable Zhenyan had just buried the hatchet, owing each other nothing, yet she chose to damage her own domain just to help him cover it up in front of Venerable Zinni. Venerable Zhenyan did not answer, and the air itself seemed to fall silent along with her. Chen Jing burst out laughing. Fang Chen, how does it feel? My master is about to die because of you, and you are powerless to save her. Don't you hate yourself? I suggest you slap yourself hard a few times. That might make you feel a little better. Venerable Zhenyan was enraged. You vile, despicable wretch. Chen Jing laughed even more recklessly. Master, I may not be able to have you, but that's fine, because Fang Chen won't have you either. I'll continue our master, disciple bond underground, while Fang Chen lives out his life above ground in regret. Unable to bear it any longer, Venerable Zhenyan raised her folding fan and struck at him. But Fang Chen grabbed hold of her snowy, white, cool wrist. Fang Chen looked at Chen Jing with a half smile, saying, who says your master is beyond saving? He suddenly felt that killing Chen Jing with a single sword stroke would be letting him off far too easily. Chen Jing was not afraid of death. His path was the way of defiant will, which had no fear of death. Killing him would not cause him pain. Only one thing could make him wish he were dead. Fang Chen changed tack. "Zhenyan, your father betrothed you to me, didn't he?" As soon as Chen Jing heard this, his smile vanished. His gaze turned cold and sharp as he snorted. "Don't try to provoke me. My master said she only admires you and has no romantic feelings for you. She will never follow her father's orders and marry you." Venerable Zhenyan shot him a glare, but did not deny it. Indeed, she would not obey great Venerable Xingyuan's words, and she truly bore no romantic feelings for Fang Chen. They were far from the point of discussing marriage. Fang Chen then spoke meaningfully. "And what if I help her restore her domain?" Chen Jing was shocked. "Impossible. Once the celestial decline tribulation descends, one must either break through in cultivation or have a sage intervene to reverse it. Are you a sage?" Venerable Zhenyan also looked at Fang Chen in surprise, her eyes full of confusion. Was Fang Chen deliberately saying this just to enrage Chen Jing? Fang Chen said, "Just tell me, if I restore your domain, will you follow great Venerable Xingyuan's arrangement and marry me?" Venerable Zhenyan averted Fang Chen's gaze and chided softly, "In your dreams." But after a pause, she added ruefully, "However, the scandal between you and me has spread throughout the entire primordial unity continent. Unless I never marry, if I do marry, it can only be you." Fang Chen smiled faintly. That sentence is enough. He held the wish paper in his hand and said, "Then I'll wait for you to marry me." As his words fell, Fang Chen swallowed over 100 grains of space-time dust and decisively activated the wish paper. In his heart, he silently made a grand wish. Venerable Zhenyan, domain restored. Venerable Zhenyan was horrified and cried out frantically, "Don't do anything reckless. Reversing the celestial decline tribulation is defying the heavenly Tao. Even my father would never dare make such a heaven-defying wish. Stop immediately." The wish had already been made. Fang Chen's body aged drastically, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a white-haired old man. But immediately afterward, the powerful vital energy of the space-time dust restored him somewhat. Then the marks of aging spread once more. This cycle repeated over and over until all 100 grains of space-time dust were exhausted. The wish paper finally activated, transforming into a blaze of fire. Immediately, a unique rhythm descended from the heavens and settled upon Venerable Zhenyan. The missing chunk of the divine halo at the back of her head miraculously reformed. The putrid, decaying aura emanating from her body rapidly dispersed, signifying that her domain had been restored. Venerable Zhenyan had no time to focus on herself. Instead, with eyes full of indescribable emotion, she gazed at Fang Chen, who had gained a few strands of white in his hair. Even a fool would understand that Fang Chen must have paid a price beyond her imagination to fulfill the wish. She recalled the question that Bodhisattva had once asked her. Fang Chen shook the ashes of the wish paper from his hand, looked at Venerable Zhenyan's perfectly restored halo, and smiled. "You are the one who will marry me, so of course it was worth it." Hearing Fang Chen's half-joking words, Venerable Zhenyan's gaze grew complex. She looked at him for a long time, then nodded gently. "Very well. If we both survive the catastrophe of the ancient giants, I will marry you." Fang Chen was taken aback. Staring at the halo on the back of Venerable Zhenyan's head, he said, "Senior Zhenyan, don't take it seriously. I was just provoking Chen Jing. There aren't that many romantic feelings between us." At this moment, Venerable Zhenyan's domain had been restored, so the words she spoke must reflect her true feelings. Venerable Zhenyan said seriously, "Romantic love requires those feelings, but marriage does not. Consider it me repaying your kindness by offering my body and life to you." Fang Chen was momentarily stunned. He had never imagined that he and Venerable Zhenyan would come to this. After all, their relationship had always been one of shouting and trying to kill each other. Never would he have thought that through the twists of fate, Venerable Zhenyan would eventually become his future wife. A resentful, venomous roar snapped Fang Chen out of his daze. Fang Chen fixed his gaze and saw Chen Jing, whose features were contorted with rage, his eyes filled with boundless venom. Not only would Venerable Zhenyan not die from the celestial decline tribulation, but she had even agreed to marry Fang Chen. How could he possibly accept this? Fang Chen smiled and took Venerable Zhenyan's hand. The latter instinctively tried to pull back, but then thought, since she had already agreed to marry Fang Chen, what harm was there in holding hands? So she allowed Fang Chen to hold her smooth jade, like little hand. Fang Chen said, "Chen Jing, I truly must thank you for pushing things repeatedly, bringing your master and me together. If you hadn't come to cause trouble at the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, Zhenyan would not have sought me out to bury the hatchet. If you hadn't informed Venerable Zinni, Zhenyan wouldn't have come to save me today. If you hadn't pressed so aggressively with your words, I wouldn't have restored Zhenyan's domain right now. Two people who would never have crossed paths were forcibly brought together by you. On behalf of Zhenyan, I thank you, her good disciple. When Zhenyan and I marry in the future, we'll definitely save you a seat." Hearing this, Venerable Zhenyan couldn't help but contemplate the cause in defect. Upon reflection, it was indeed so. If not for Chen Jing's step-by-step actions, there would never have been any connection between her and Fang Chen. Since returning from the Primordial Unity continent, if Chen Jing had honestly been cultivating at Moonlit Lake instead of seeking trouble with Fang Chen, she too would have been in seclusion at Moonlit Lake until the ancient giants descended, and then thrown into the great battle with almost no chance of crossing paths with Fang Chen again. Yet Chen Jing's actions had changed everything in the unseen currents of fate, and miraculously brought them together. If Chen Jing had taken even one fewer step, things would not be as they are now. One can only say that the workings of karma and fate are truly sigh-worthy. "No, it's not like that," Chen Jing roared in a frenzy. He couldn't accept that his master had actually promised to marry Fang Chen. Even more devastating was that it was all his own doing. With his own hands, he had pushed the woman he could least bear to part with into Fang Chen's arms. Suddenly, he saw Lu Zhu with a grim expression, and his gaze instantly turned venomous. Chen Jing screamed hoarsely, "Asura King, aren't you here to kill Fang Chen? Hurry, kill him. He holds the Grand Libationer's deep trust and has several Demon Dao Venerables as peers. If you don't kill him now, you'll never have the chance." Lu Zhu cast him a cold glance, disgust flickering in her eyes, and with a casual wave of her hand, struck his abdomen. With a muffled thump, Chen Jing's Nascent Soul in his abdomen exploded, and countless streams of Nascent Soul energy leaked out through his pores. "Ah, you crippled my cultivation." Chen Jing howled in agony, rolling on the ground ceaselessly. "I was helping you," Lu Zhu said coldly. "A disciple who betrays his master, everyone has the right to slay him. Besides, my affairs with Fang Chen are none of your business." Having silenced the clamor by her ear, Lu Zhu slowly turned her gaze toward Fang Chen. Complex emotions swirled in her eyes as she said, "I've dealt with Chen Jing for you. Now it's time to settle matters between us." Fang Chen nodded gently, already forming some plans in his mind. He said, "Lu Zhu, you and I don't necessarily have to come to blows. You joined the ancient giants only because you were expelled from the Asura stronghold and had nowhere else to go. Rather than staying with those vicious ancient giants, why not remain here in the Central Plains?" Fang Chen extended his hand toward her. "I have already obtained the Grand Libationer's consent. The Guide Heaven Realm is willing to receive Asura clans seeking refuge. With your level of cultivation, the Grand Libationer will surely welcome you. There's no need for you to keep serving the ancient giants." Listening to Fang Chen's recruitment offer, Lu Zhu was stunned for a long moment. Only after a long while did a bitter expression spread across her pretty face. "Have you forgotten what the 5-star Giant King's origin is?" Fang Chen answered without hesitation, "It's foreknowledge of the future." He paused, suddenly enlightened, his voice sinking low. "You're not saying that the 5-star Giant King already foresaw me trying to recruit you?" Lu Zhu gave a bitter laugh and said, "I only just understood it myself. Before I set out, the 5-star Giant King suddenly caught up with me and insisted that I hand over a strand of my soul power." So he had already foreseen this very scene. She had always found it strange why the 5-star Giant King would be so wary of her, because even she herself had never imagined she would bury the hatchet with Fang Chen. It wasn't until the moment she had the chance to kill Fang Chen that she realized she had come to him not to take his life at all, but merely to seek an answer. But who could have imagined that the 5-star Giant King's foresight had long ago seen through today's outcome? Fang Chen's expression completely darkened as he said coldly, "What a troublesome origin. Does that strand of soul power pose a fatal threat to you?" Lu Zhu nodded, her tone laced with dread. "The 5-star Giant King holds a curse power bestowed by the Giant Emperor. Through that strand of soul left in the heavenly realm, it's enough for him to curse and kill me across the dimensional boundary." This was truly troublesome. Lu Zhu was now held by a fatal leash in the hands of the 5-star Giant King. There was simply no way for her to resist. If she could not bring back Fang Chen's head, then she would have to offer her own. One of the two had to die. Lu Zhu gazed at Fang Chen for a long time, lightly biting her red lips, and suddenly asked a question that seemed utterly irrelevant. What is your relationship with Hongxiu? Fang Chen replied frankly, a cooperative relationship. She held off the 5-star giant king for me, and in return I sent her some urgently needed resources for the Asura clan. Lu Zhu's eyes were full of suspicion as she pressed. Just cooperation. Then why did she give you that innate bloodline ability to erase memories to use against me? Are the two of you colluding in secret, already involved with each other? You know how smart Hongxiu is. Fang Chen shook his head and explained. How could she be fooled by a few words from me? She clearly hoped I would keep you in the Central Plains forever, and never let you return to the heavenly realm. Lu Zhu considered his words for a moment and nodded slightly. That's true. That woman. There isn't a single man in this world who can manipulate her, and you're no exception. Fang Chen had no interest in trying to manipulate such a shrewd woman, and he couldn't help asking, with all this going on, why are you still asking about Hongxiu? Lu Zhu gave a delicate humph. I want to know whether you have betrayed me or not. Fang Chen was a little speechless. His relationship with Lu Zhu was actually very pure. Even if he had really done something with Hongxiu, it wouldn't exactly count as betraying Lu Zhu, would it? Lu Zhu seemed to read Fang Chen's thoughts and humphed again. That woman is my lifelong enemy. If you become her man, then you'll be my enemy too. Fang Chen shrugged, resigned, and then, even if you know I haven't betrayed you, you still have to kill me now, don't you? Lu Zhu stepped forward, reached out, and knocked Fang Chen on the head, saying smugly, fool, who says one of us has to die. I'll just bring Divine Venerable's head back and report that he was the one who moved the heaven, connecting Black Pillar. Those people in the heavenly realm, how could they possibly know I'm lying? She paused and her tone became unusually serious. Of course, the premise is that after I return to the heavenly realm, you must not move the heaven, connecting Black Pillar again. Otherwise, my lie will be exposed on the spot, and I truly won't even have a place to be buried. This was precisely why Lu Zhu needed to confirm that Fang Chen had not betrayed her. She was risking her neck to cover for Fang Chen. If Fang Chen wanted to harm her, he would only need to give the heaven, connecting Black Pillar, a slight nudge, and she would be doomed beyond redemption. Fang Chen was somewhat moved. This silly girl actually planned to deceive the 5-star giant king, a thing that could cost her very life. His gaze softened as he said gently, after you retrieve your soul, come to the Central Plains. I'll take care of you. Lu Zhu's face flushed bright red, and she stomped her feet in embarrassment. Who wants you to take care of me? I told you, you've missed your chance with me, for all eternity. In this life, don't even dream that I'll be your wife again. Fang Chen simply smiled without a word, and silently took out 2 Hell Abyss crystals. Lu Zhu felt a resonance in her heart and whirled toward him, her pupils contracting sharply. She cried out involuntarily, intact Hell Abyss crystals. And 2 of them. Heavens, where did you get them? These are divine relics of the Asura clan, crystallized from the cultivation of a fallen Hell realm lord. How can you possibly have them? Fang Chen laughed inwardly, asterisk naturally. They're condensed from the Hell Abyss crystal powder you gave me. Asterisk. He reached out, took Lu Zhu's small hand, and placed the 2 Hell Abyss crystals into it, saying, Hongxiu helped me stall the 5-star giant king, and I only gave her 2. Now I'm giving you 2 as well. Hearing this, Lu Zhu was instantly wild with joy. You mean that woman fought desperately and only got 2, while I'm just telling a lie for you, and you're also giving me 2. Delight spread across her face, and she couldn't help but laugh out loud. Hongxiu, Hongxiu, do you see that? See how good Fang Chen is to me? Do you think you can compete with me for Fang Chen? Can you win, HMPH? She beamed as she carefully put the Hell Abyss crystals away, excitedly calculating. 1 Hell Abyss crystal can help me break through a level within a month. 2 should be enough for me to reach the 4-crowned Asura king. Thinking of this, she looked up at Fang Chen and said earnestly, Thank you, Fang Chen. Fang Chen shrugged, the corners of his mouth curling into a faint smile. If only you could call me husband once more. Lu Zhu gave him a playful glare and said coquettishly, Dream on. I'll never say that word again in this life. Hurry up and take care of your proper business. If you still need to use the heaven, connecting Black Pillar, move it quickly. Once you're done, I'll take Divine Venerable's head back to report. The boulder pressing on his heart was thus lifted. The matter of the void current thunder force and Lu Zhu was finally perfectly resolved. From now on, he only needed to cultivate diligently, find his own Tao as soon as possible, and he absolutely had to find that true Tao before the ancient giants descended. At that very moment, a sudden shift occurred in the vicinity. Xinnai Venerable spoke without any forewarning, his voice hoarse, with only the last wisp of breath behind it. Beware, there is still one more person here, one with extremely deep malice. Even though his vitality had almost completely scattered, he still relied on his acute perception of the darkness in human nature to sense that an entity with profoundly deep malice was hidden here.
What?
There's still another person. The demoness and Jinyan Venerable were both alarmed, their expressions changing as they quickly swept their gazes around, yet they sensed nothing at all. Only Lu Zhu, at the instant the Venerable Heart, Sin's words faded, seemed to sense something. Without a shred of hesitation, she blasted Fang Chen away. Then, like a frenzied tide, her entire body's yin energy surged violently toward a point behind her.
PFFD!
Yet that raging yin energy, as if crashing against an indomitable existence, was forcibly cleaved in two. Beneath the scouring yin energy, a being of human-like stature finally materialized. What left all present in utter disbelief was that above its forehead hovered two slowly revolving stars. These were the source stars that only a giant king possessed. Exposed to the two, Star Giant King unhesitatingly launched a punch toward Lu Zhu. The tyrannical force of that world, annihilating strike, could shatter her body to splinters in an instant. He was too close to Lu Zhu, and his blow came far too suddenly, leaving her absolutely no time to react. By the time Lu Zhu saw the fist hurtling toward her, there was no chance left even for a teleporting dodge. Her pupils shrank to pinpricks, ice, cold death enveloping her, her entire body frozen solid. Just as the fist was about to land, suddenly, Lu Zhu's collar was wrenched downward with violent force, and then her whole body was hurled backward uncontrollably. It turned out that the instant Fang Chen was swatted away, he realized the danger. Without a second thought, he deployed the void fishing rod and hooked Lu Zhu, reeling her back with him.
Bang!
The punch struck empty air. The space where Lu Zhu had just stood collapsed violently inward. Had she been struck head on, she would already have been reduced to a mist of blood. Lu Zhu had barely survived. Her heart hammered wildly. She was about to turn and express her thanks, when suddenly, the fist that had missed grotesquely swelled several times larger, and she was still grazed by the edge of the fist's F-orse.
PFFD.
In a flash, Lu Zhu's delicate figure was sent flying horizontally, blood spraying through the air. Following the retracting path of the void fishing rod, she crashed heavily toward the earth. Lu Zhu, Fang Chen cried out in alarm, lunging forward to catch her. But the instant he touched her, the terrifying power within Lu Zhu burst forth, instantly blasting his arm into a cloud of blood mist. Don't touch her, Venerable True Word's expression drastically changed. She shoved Fang Chen aside and extended both hands, catching Lu Zhu steadily. Bang, bang, bang. A rapid series of muffled thuds traveled from her arms into her body. A stream of piercing crimson immediately trickled from the corner of her lips, and threads of pain spread across her beautiful face. Such formidable power! She stared at the figure flickering within the yin energy, her expression turning extraordinarily grave. Fang Chen looked anxiously at Lu Zhu, and only when he sensed that her breath still lingered did he relax slightly. These injuries were far lighter than what she had suffered when wounded by Asura, King Ari. He hastily pulled out a handful of revitalizing pills, swallowed a handful himself, and fed another handful to Lu Zhu. Only then did he raise a grim face toward the attacker. When he noticed the two rotating source stars upon the opponent's forehead, he could not help but be utterly shocked.